Hello, communication class. I'm going to talk to you today about money and how having more of it means you have more problems. So, looking at some examples of this, we'll start with the lottery. Winning the lottery is fantastic, isn't it? It's great. It's the best day of your life. But it can also be the worst day of your life. There is a level of planning that needs to go into this. But for the most part, the percentages are not in your favor. You look at some information from the National Endowment for Financial Education. They've done research, and they've come up with 70% of people that come into sudden wealth, inheritance, lottery, lose that wealth within 7 years. So you look at our class. Our class is made up of about 18 people. I got this off of the numbers from our introduction. So there's 18 of us in this class. We all win the lottery. Yeah, right? We want to party. We want to have a good time. Within 7 years, 13 of us will be broke. That money will be gone. 13 of us. That number is a little astronomical. There's a couple of examples that I'd like to share with you. The first one is a man by the name of Andrew Jack Whitaker. He won Powerball, a few years back, won $315 million in the Powerball jackpot. Individually, that's fantastic. He was actually individually wealthy before he took over. He was worth $17 million. He owned a construction company. Within 4 years, he lost everything. Not only his company, but he also lost the $315 million. Let's take that for example. For 1 second. Everyone here has probably seen Brewster's Millions. He had to lose $30 million in a month. This guy lost $315 in 4 years. That's crazy. Next example I have for you is a man by the name of Keith Goth. He won €9 million in the England lottery, which equates roughly to $14 million US. Within 5 years, gone. He lost most of his due to con men. And he, in fact, actually spent time in rehab for drug abuse and substance abuse because he got bored with his wealth. He had nothing to do, so he started drinking and doing drugs. Good job. Next example is where you can actually do some good with your money. And this individual, her name is Janet Lee. She won $18 million in the Illinois State Lottery. She spent her money on philanthropic things. She got annuitized payments, roughly $630,000 a year. She spent all of that on other people. She did good with her money. She donated so much to the Democratic Party, she ended up having dinner with Al Gore, Bill Clinton. She donated it to universities. She actually has a reading room at the Washington School of Law that is in her name. So she spent a lot of her money. However, within 6 years, she was broke. So when she filed for bankruptcy for Chapter 21, she was $700 to her name and $2.5 million in debt. So those are a couple of examples that I want to make sure we understand. There's one reason why a lot of us fail at this, and 70% failure rate, and that's failure. We are used to, most of us, working paycheck to paycheck. We don't have huge amounts of savings. The United States is just not built that way. The majority of us are paycheck to paycheck. We get a sudden influx of money, and we don't have the right understanding of how to deal with that money. So this is a reason a lot of us fail. There's a man by the name of Robert Pagliarni. He is a sudden wealth financial advisor. He does a lot of business with sports athletes. They get their first big contract. They go from making $500 a month from the NCAA to all of a sudden they have money that they literally wrap up and burn. So he helps them figure out what are good investments, how to properly manage their money. That's something that we need to figure out. Just a simple financial advisor just isn't going to do. He'll set you up on good courses, but he doesn't understand either that sudden influx of cash and the psychological effect it has on people. Mr. Pagliarni believes that there's a honeymoon phase. Okay, that's understandable. You have 1 to 6 months that it's like Christmas every day. I want to buy a car. I want to buy a four-wheeler. I want to buy a dirt bike. I want to buy a boat. I'm going to buy a couple houses. This is what everybody keeps thinking when they pick up on the lottery. And that's the reason that some of us fail. And, well, in fact, 70% of us will fail. It's because we don't understand that that's an unsustainable event. So, you take into account that there are people in this country that are very wealthy, understand that wealth, and know how to deal with it. Now, looking at some statistics, the majority of people in the country feel that wealthy means you make $500,000 a year or more. So you have individuals that make that money, they continuously make that money, and they know how to manage it. They've had the time. They started where we are right now and worked their way up. So as they work their way up, they understand what it needs to be to make sure that you can get this money. Now, I want to thank everybody for listening to me. What I want to really leave you with, a conclusion, is that lottery is not a problem solver. Sudden wealth is not a problem solver. In fact, it's another potential problem just waiting to happen, wrapped up in a whole bunch of fun, flurry, and excitement. So I want to thank everybody for listening. And I hope I've convinced all of you that the lottery is not always the best thing.